Hey, everybody, and welcome to Colorado Sports Connections episode of Broncos Tonight. I'll be your host, Matt Staffiero. With me, as always, Baylor Braddock. How are you, Baylor?
I'm doing well, man. Through the holidays and on the other side now.
Man, it feels like the holidays are somewhat like a gauntlet these days.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, between my family and my wife's family, we have to get through 4-ish Christmases, it feels like,
I
plus
had
our own.
I had 4 Christmases as well, and the first one was on Christmas Day. So I had 3 to do the week after, which went straight into New Year's, and then it's just been crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely been. Now that I have kids, it's not as exciting for me. I'm not even going to I'm going to be selfish. Man, you see them open like 50 gifts and you get like a bottle of cologne. And you're like, okay, hey.
I guess cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I don't mind it. I gotta smell nice. Gotta cover up the manly man smell. So I
Yeah.
ain't hating it. But man, I miss being a kid and waiting to see if you're gonna get like an Xbox or I mean, hell, even if it's something. I remember my very first Broncos jersey. Never had one. Opened it on Christmas. First one. Crazy number 41. Carl Pema was my first Broncos jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know.
So
I don't remember who got it. I don't know where it came from. But Carl Pema, and then after that was Brandon Stokely.
My first jersey was a Rod Smith jersey.
Yeah, see, I mean, hey, ain't nothing against Pema, but I was like, who the hell is Pema? When I'm like 6 years, 7, 8 years old. But hey, man, it's a jersey. I was excited just because it had Broncos on it. I remember being happy just to play in the yard. Um, yeah, man, lots of stuff though. I mean, we're over here doing the Christmas gauntlet, and of course, the NFL and the Broncos do what they do best and break news right in the middle of the busiest time of year. For some people, it made the holidays a little harder, and for others, it was like an extra Christmas gift. I guess it depends on what side of the fence you decide to put yourself on. And uh, of course, we're talking about first of all the Russell Wilson benching, and then the preceding reports, or at least the expectation from what we've been told is it's moving on in March. We don't know exactly all of the details or if it's confirmed. Of course, Sean Payton and the Broncos are playing it close to chest, but national media who Sean's best friends are leaking it out a little bit here, saying it's happening in March. I mean, first of all, let's start with the benching. How are you feeling about just the overall that step in general?
Well, it's confusing for me for a number of reasons. The kind of first reason for me is pretty simple. If you were ready to bench him in March, or not March, but if you were ready to bench him back after the Chiefs game, why didn't you just do it? Number two, they say this was a football decision, which means that this is what they believe is the best chance for the team to win. And once again, if this is the best chance for the team to win, why didn't we do this? Why don't we do this when you made that decision, when you felt that way? And finally, what really doesn't make sense to me is the fact that it's going to cost us the same amount of money no matter what. So, like, again, we were texting about this a little bit, Matt, but the main analogy, I not even analogy, it's just like, would you rather have an expensive backup or an expensive nothing? And it appears they'd rather have an expensive nothing. So they would rather not have a distraction of any sort for a year. And to them, that's worth just eating $85 million and getting absolutely nothing out of it. As far as Russell Wilson, I do want to preface this whole conversation with saying that man has been the most hated, the most slandered, the most picked on, the most bullied, whatever you want to say, since the moment he walked into Denver and said, "Let's ride." Like, this man has taken nothing but verbal abuse from other players, from other teams, from other coaching staffs, from the fan, from media, from all across the country. And not once has he done? He's shown class through the whole thing. He is not.
Oh yeah.
About
No.
it. I mean, come on now. They asked him to waive an injury clause and threatened to bench him if he didn't. They asked, "Hey, give us some of the money you gave us back, or we'll bench you." And when he said no, I mean that's kind of messed up, right? And he waited until after he actually got benched to say, like, guys, like, this is kind of messed up. And even then, he didn't come out and say, yo, look at this BS that they did to me. No, he just said, this is what happened. And like,
well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to cut it straight to the chase. I mean, did the Broncos approach it in the right way? Probably not. I mean, threaten to bench you over. I mean, they didn't want to necessarily take it away. They wanted to delay it. But I mean, at the same time, the risk is if he delayed it and they cut him, then he would lose it. So I mean, either Russell Wilson knew in October that his time in Denver was done, and that's why he's fighting it. I mean, either way, he's not going to see it if they cut him this year. It's not guaranteed if they cut him before the 5th day of the league year, anyways. So I mean, the Broncos are writing the precedent of, well, if he would have done it, he would have been here, which could be a possibility. But I mean, it's not a fun situation regardless. And I mean, while Russ is a class act, he has a good social media team and in team 3 that can kind of be the bad guy without him taking the brunt of being the bad guy. I'm going to take the opposite side. I mean, we heard Jordan Solt's report and how it all went down, and team 3 has done a really good job of painting this as somewhat as not a victim, but playing I'm the good guy and the Broncos are the bad guy type of role. And I mean, in reality, there's Matt Ryan went through something similar in Atlanta. This isn't the first time where something like this has happened. The way they chose to word it, possibly, but once again, we're trusting Jordan Soltz, who's incredibly close to Russ's team, saying this is how it was told to me. I mean, we weren't there to hear the conversations. I mean, is this George Payton having the conversation with him? Is this Sean Payton having the conversation? Is it one of the Walton Penners, part of the ownership group who sat down on the conversation? I mean, it comes from so many facets that we won't unfortunately ever know the truth of how it was presented. And, you know, I work in a big place where in my day job where tone and interpretation, you know, tone and intention are two different things. I mean, the way you interpret something isn't necessarily the way it was delivered. I mean, and if we look at it through performance, I mean, I could see why we benched them for performance. If we look at the offense, and if we look at Russell Wilson's individual stats, no, they're not bad. But if we look at it as an offense as a whole, I mean, up until the point they benched him, they're the 25th rated offense. They're horrible in third down efficiency. Conversion. I mean, there's many reasons to why you could say this is just not working. I mean, the offense just unfortunately isn't very good.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not saying what the Broncos did was bad. I'm not saying.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying
I'm not saying that, you know, Russ, you know, how the story was spun. Here's the thing. When it comes to that, I haven't seen a single thing from the other side saying that's not how it happened. A. Because B, it's not a bad thing. The NHL, the NFLPA doesn't have a problem with it. They're like, hey, no, this happens. And like you said, it's happened before. That's fine. I'm not saying it's an issue.
No, I get you.
I'm literally all I'm doing before we go down this rabbit hole.
I got you.
I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Russ. Is I'm kind of thanking Russ. I'm thanking Russ because I'm like, dude, this dude has been absolutely blasted since the moment, like before he ever took a snap, even in training camp, he was getting blasted by people. You had people in Seattle, you know, calling him out before he like even took a snap, right? So like, all I'm saying is he's done all of this and even gone through, like he was asked after beating the Chiefs for the first time since before we won a Super Bowl. He was asked after that game to, you know, defer that injury money. And he said no. And again, that's fine. But again, he felt wronged by it. Whether or not it was wrong or not, he felt wronged by it, which is why he ended up telling everybody, right? You know, at the end, he pulled media over to him and said, hey, this is the deal. But at the same time, he even when he did that, he just said, here's what happened. He didn't say he was upset. He didn't try to make a big stink out of it. And even after it happened, after the Chiefs game, he came out, he played football, he won 4 more football games. Like, it's not even, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying he's handled this whole thing extremely classy, and I'm bummed that it didn't work out here for him. But I appreciate him putting in the work and trying to make it work for these last 2 seasons.
No, absolutely.
But no, other than that, no, absolutely should have been benched. But like, going back to my point, if you think he needed to be benched, why didn't you do it sooner? Why did you, if Sean Payton says you need a spark, why are you waiting until, we have to win a game against the Chargers? And even if we do, it doesn't matter, because if the Chiefs win, we're eliminated anyway. Like, if you need a spark for the offense, just like do it while we still have a chance in the season.
Yeah.
Or just say you want to see what Jarrett Stidham has and leave it at that. Just don't lie to us. That's all I'm saying.
I think the Broncos shot themselves in the foot slightly. I mean, I think because they approached like, hey, delay this or we may bench you, kind of put them in a hinder. Because the report from Ian Rappaport did state that, that Russ's agent did submit this to the NFLPA for review per rap sheet. I know that there's the whole Maskey report stating that the NFLPA said you could have litigation, blah, blah, blah. But let's just focus on who we know is 100% credible in Rappaport. And, it was submitted, and there could have been maybe some discussions regarding what, is there a possibility for litigation? Is there this? Maybe that somewhat delayed the process because they didn't want to indict themselves, essentially saying, oh, hey, we just talked to him, now we're benching him. Now, it could have been something like that, where they maybe should have just said, hey, this isn't working very well. But it's hard because at that time you just came off the biggest win. So either way, it was kind of a lose-lose situation.
I just, if you're going to approach him about that,
might as well say, hey,
right after you beat Kansas City is not the time to do it. And if you're going to do it right after you beat Kansas City, just do it,
Yeah. And
like, we shouldn't be getting political about this. Like, you shouldn't be saying do this or you get benched.
Just bench him.
The question should be, are you the quarterback that's best for this team? If the answer is not yes, bench him. Like, how much money he's getting paid shouldn't be a factor.
Yeah, this injury clause doesn't necessarily give the team more money. It doesn't affect, it gives ownership's pockets the $37 million, but this $37 million that we're talking about isn't money that's going to go back towards the cap anyways. If they move it back, it gives them more financial flexibility for him. That's it.
Yeah, it gives a little bit more flexibility in
terms of you can get rid of him. That's essentially the financial flexibility. Yeah.
But again, I don't fault Russ for saying no.
No, absolutely. I would have said no.
Money. Yeah, exactly. Would you turn down $37 million? No, nobody would.
No, like I said, unfortunately, the realm of the reality is if he's cut before the day, he's not going to see it anyways. That's why this has all kind of gotten so out of hand and messy, and we've allowed the media to kind of twist this to make it, like I said, this bad guy, good guy situation, and you got to pick a side. It just goes to show. Dave and I hit on this, I think, when it first happened. We did have a brief discussion. Broncos country's been so divided because of this quarterback situation where we've constantly had to pick what side we're on, from Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater to what next veteran are we buying into? And it's caused so much division to who we think needs to be this guy that we've forgotten that we're Broncos fans and not quarterback fans. And it definitely messes with things. A couple things. Yeah, Jody's coming in. If you're eating 87, why care about 37? Because at 37 million, like I said, it doesn't really affect the cap. It's giving the ownership their money back.
It makes his deal easier to get rid of.
Yeah.
The 85 would not be it would not be that number if that 37 was deferred. That's what they were trying to do.
Yeah. And again, it makes him easier to trade.
It makes him easier to trade, which nobody's going to want to really trade for him. That
without a massive change
might make it, and you'd have to still retain a ton of it.
But you'd be able to retain some. If let's say 85 mil is the number, or let's say, I forgot what they said it dropped to. I think it dropped into the 70s. Even if you're eating 50 out of a 75, you're still saving $25 million. That's a huge savings if you're able to offload some of that and only have to eat a certain portion. But
It was kind of a Hail Mary.
Yeah, it really
you
was.
don't really expect him to do it. The only reason he would do it would be if he was super unhappy with his situation. But if I'm being honest, I don't think he gives to you know what,
I
because
get you.
he's making that money no matter what. And you know what? I don't think he cares if he's benched. And that's the
No,
that's why I don't think getting rid of him this year is the issue, like is the answer,
I
because
think it's the mess that the team, and
it's
it's the
yeah,
mess that was
the mess,
created with the
the mess of the
narrative.
media.
Yeah.
It's the mess of the media. But I'll tell you one thing that doesn't make sense is you have all of these. You've got Sean Payton throwing this narrative of like block out the media, stay off the media, don't do media stuff, ignore the media, and then he makes a decision because he wants to avoid the media making a ruckus. It's like Russ isn't going to make a noise, dude. He's making his money either way. And if you're going to get a young quarterback, I would personally prefer you to have an experienced quarterback that's not Jared Stidham, who has 3 NFL starts.
No, I don't
Teach that
disagree.
dude how to be an NFL player. I mean, you can there's no price difference keeping and getting rid of him. It's
No,
the same
it's
money.
simply a pride thing. I mean, it's simply that this is
It
just not Peyton's guy, and Peyton doesn't want it
And
here, and that's it.
at the end of the day, if Russ really does get mad and starts making a stink, you can be like, cool, renegotiate your deal so that we can get you out of here. Because I'll tell you
Yeah.
what we're not doing is eating $85 million for nothing. And that's where you get your leverage from. The thing is, they have zero leverage right now. And every time they might have an opportunity to get it, they just like throw it away. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, seriously, put him on the bench. Put him on the bench 5 weeks ago and be like, yeah, you want to get traded and play somewhere? Cool. Renegotiate your contract with us. Or you say, cool, you're just going to sit there and be quiet because you're making your money and we'll move on with our life. And if we draft someone, we'll pay you $85 million over the next 2 years to teach him how to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
Same thing.
I mean, it's not. I mean, from a logistical standpoint,
Yes.
yeah,
And I get
absolutely.
and I get it. And it's like, if this was 20 million, 30 million, even 40, 50, maybe even $50 million over the next 2 years, I'd say whatever, get rid of the headache. It's going to be difficult with how much we're over the cap. We're gonna have to go through every single contract.
Yeah, I showed you. I think I sent you that massive thing. It's going to take a lot to generate $28 million.
Go through every single contract on the team, restructure a ton of those contracts.
9 of
a
them.
lot of it is just kicking the can down the road, and all of this is really just going to be to get under the cap and to sign our draft picks. Like, we're not going to have any mobility in free agency this year or next year when that goes up without
there's only one way that you're going to do it. You're going to get them on vet min deals, and you're going to have to pay a buttload out of pocket. I mean, there's a way.
Don't even go with vet min deals. Like, go on.
I'm saying if you let's say you have a targeted prize free agent that you feel is going to be a quality asset, you're gonna have to backload the contract with the salary, give them a gigantic signing bonus, which maybe that's why they want the $37 million, because they know they're gonna need it.
Yeah, exactly. So I just again, personally, if I was pulling the strings, which I'm absolutely not, I'm telling everyone that's involved here, like if I'm the Penners, I'm like, dude, no, I'm paying this dude $85 million over the next 2 years, one way or another.
Yeah.
Keep him. Sorry. Figure out how to get rid of him or keep him. And you know what? If that makes him mad, use it as leverage.
No, absolutely. We have a couple of things coming in really quick. Let's see. Jody's coming in with a bunch of comments today. First one I'll address. I'm going to do rapid fire real quick, Baylor. All right. Spark, we seen like Sunday. Sean Payton's a coach. He's got to have something to put out to the media. He's not going to come out and say, I don't like Russ. I don't want him here. I don't think he does it. I mean, ultimately, performance was identical to what we had with Russ anyways all season. You want a $50 million quarterback or you want a $5 million quarterback to do the same production? I mean, that's just what it is. Let's see. Where's the next one? Let's see. In 1 year, Peyton put Denver in cap hell. Unfortunately, I disagree. George Payton put the Denver Broncos in kind of a bad cap situation. And I mean, that's why the likely narrative is he's gone after the draft. So,
and again, we wouldn't be in cap hell if Russ worked out.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be. Because you would do those simple restructures we'd have to just get through the 20 mil, which is not a hard thing to do.
Well,
Especially when you got owners with the deepest pockets in the NFL.
Part of the issue right now is we're paying a quarterback and we need a quarterback that isn't the one we're paying.
Preach.
And that's the most expensive position on the field. I mean, it's simple. It's interesting.
Last comment I'll address. Well, I have two. I want one more. This one. Rich owner, cool. Rich owner, zero football experience, bad. Well, that's why you bring in a guy like Sean Payton, who's got a track record of consistently winning.
Yeah, a rich owner doesn't do much for you, man. This is a cap league. If you have enough money, it's a cap league that generates so much money that owning the team for a year gives you more than enough money to pay the player's salary. So,
signing bonuses will eradicate the cap. I mean, they have so many ways to do it.
Signing bonuses are one thing. But again, once you get into these thresholds, man, I mean, giving somebody a $3 million signing bonus to somebody who has enough money to buy, because you got to think about it. If you're buying a team, like what do the Panthers go for? Because they were the most recent after us, right? They went
there was Commanders.
Oh, Commanders, that's right.
$6.5 billion.
Yeah, $6 billion. Okay, so the person who bought the Commanders for $6 billion does not have $6 billion. They have way more than $6 billion. I mean, think about it. If you have $20, you're not going to go out and buy a toy that is $20. You got to use that $20 for more important things, right? Like, so these people have way more than that money. And once you get in that territory, like, all these owners are able to pay signing bonuses. Now, what having a rich owner does is allows you to have nicer facilities. It allows you to pay a Sean Payton as much money as you want because coaches don't affect the cap. It allows you to, I mean, it's like that's what ownership does.
It allows you to facilitate.
When it comes to being the cap, like any NFL team could have afforded to pay Russ what they did, and they would be in the exact same spot we are right now. The rich owner has nothing to do with it. It's the cap that is the issue here.
I mean, there's a ways though. Having those deep pockets makes the cap more flexible. I mean, if you get a quality veteran to come in on that vet-min deal, but you give them a good guarantee, I mean, you're going to see lower cap hits for at least a period of their contract. Similar to when it allows you to constantly have these restructures, similar to what we're going to talk about, what we have to talk about. The Ben Powers, the Mike McGlinchey's, the extensions of Garrett Bowles to convert to vet men. Having those deep pockets allows you the flexibility to be able to make those moves. But at the same time, this is any owner in the NFL. It doesn't. It can be anyone. I mean, if we look at
Penners are the richest, but everyone's so rich.
Amount. Yeah,
it's like we're talking billions. Okay, these contracts and signing bonuses and stuff that the owners can actually do to attract players, they're millions. They're not even 25. I mean, it's not even like a quarter of $1 billion. It's not even a quarter of 100 million. These are not numbers that, like, if any owner in the league wanted somebody, they could do it.
Yeah,
they could incentivize it with the money and not be a problem. But at the same time, it's the type of owner. You know, there are owners that are known for not giving that, and there are owners who are known for giving attractive signing bonuses, and that's just a personal.
I mean, that's how the Philadelphia Eagles build these teams to be consistently contenders, because Howie Roseman has.
Yep.
He got the owner's checkbook and can do whatever he wants with it.
Yeah. He incentivizes it, and
he
gets those positions that are not core positions, core building blocks of the team that just need a quick fix, and then every year or two need another plug. You can easily find vets at that cheap deal and incentivize them to come out here on the vet minimum and give them a signing bonus worth 3 times the contract you gave them, and you're out a total of $2.5 million by the end of it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's crazy though. Yeah, but it depends. I mean, ownership. I mean, the Waltons, the Walton Penner Group's not going to want. They didn't buy the Broncos to be losers or to keep it close to their chest. I mean, they dropped in within a year. They're putting $160 million new facility at Dove Valley.
They also didn't spend $4.5 billion to spend another $1 billion in the first 3 years, and they've already given out a quarter of that to a single player who played for 2 years and is getting cut before that $250 million even kicks in.
Yeah, and I mean, while this money thing looks big to us, at the end of the day, when you do have $68 billion and you've invested this money into a guy that you've trust in Sean Payton, and you're likely going to invest into a guy that he trusts to be a general manager. I mean, we're this is just them batting an eye. This is like for you and me, this is us walking into Dollar Tree, and we're picking out a nice few things for $1.25. Some of these players are $1.25 to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth. That's the reality. When you got these kind of pockets, anything is possible. Russ won't restructure. Meanwhile, Derek Carr is willing to.
Russ Super Bowl ring. Derek Carr does not. Russ has a little bit more leverage than Derek Carr does. He's got a little bit bigger of a track record.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think anyone in Broncos country wanted it to fail. I think some others were harder to convince than others. I'll be honest, I was skeptical of the Russell Wilson thing after the very first game in Seattle, I was skeptical. I'll be completely honest. I was nervous.
I was skeptical after like the third week for me. I was like, something's not right.
Something's not right. And we could put it on Hackett and say this derailed. I mean, but at the end of the day, it just didn't work.
It was new everything. That's why it was so hard to sniff out for me at first. I was like, dude, there's just too much going on. We didn't have a good line. We didn't have a good run game. We had a brand new coach with a brand new offensive system, new everything, new quarterback. I was like, dude, I don't even know where to start. But again, when you put in a backup quarterback that's making, a tenth of what your starter is making, and your offense looks exactly the same as it did a few weeks ago when you played the exact same team.
Absolutely.
It goes to tell you, and it's like, hey, it's like, what do you want? What do you want?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it really stinks that, this didn't work out. I mean, but when you can consistently live in the same mindset, I mean, if we look at the Broncos post 2015, and you can throw Drew Lock in there as a draft, you could throw Paxton Lynch in the draft, but we also have to really ask ourselves, how much of a commitment was there to either one of them in their development? I could say it was questionable. I mean, plus the revolving door of head coaches, defensive-minded head coaches. How many were really put in place?
I don't know. I think there was commitment to Paxton Lynch, but I think that kind of scared everyone that was involved in that situation moving forward.
Yeah, if I'm honest, it felt like it was more of a desperation pick than anything. It was just, I'm going to pick a rookie quarterback to pick a rookie quarterback because they want me to pick a rookie quarterback. That's what honestly it felt like to me.
It did. And sometimes that works out, and it looks like, but that's the thing. It blew up so bad. And it was so terrible that, like, again, you're like, well, that's never going to work. And that's never, ever going to work again. We're never going to use that high of a draft pick. It's like, it's not even the fact that you use that high of a draft pick. It's that you use that high of a draft pick on a guy that was scouted like Paxton Lynch. Like, he was not a first-round talent.
Yeah. I mean, there is a reason why, if you watch the Paxton Lynch evaluation, because if you remember when this all first started to happen, let's talk Paxton Lynch for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The beginning of that year, Paxton Lynch was the number one graded quarterback above Carson Wentz, above Jared Goff. He started to slide to 2 to 3, and then eventually just started to slide. We get to post combine. There's talks if he's even going to be in the first round. This man consistently slid once the actual NFL microscope was on him. And desperation set in. That's my take on it. It was just desperation.
Well, that's one of those things that you see a lot. You see a desperate team send a flyer on a dude that lit it up at a small college who didn't play against the same level of competition as some of those Carson Wentz's and all of those. And when you swing desperate, sometimes you smash it out of the park, and sometimes you spin around looking silly. And unfortunately, they spun around looking silly. But the most important thing, especially when it comes to the draft, which is a literal lottery, you don't know if a player is going to work out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Even the surefire players. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I'm still waiting to look like Andrew
generational
Luck.
Talent. The best thing we've seen since Andrew Luck. Yeah, no.
Look like John Elway.
Yeah,
looking for him to look like and that's the thing. Like, it's an absolute lottery, and it's like, could you imagine going to buy a scratch ticket? Because essentially what happened for them is they went out, they bought a scratch ticket They paraded around the entire town saying this lottery ticket's a winner before they scratched it. And then when it was a loser, they're like, well, I'm never buying a lottery ticket again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or if they do, they buy the $1 ones and they're like, why don't I win any money? It's like, well, because you're buying a $1 lottery ticket.
Yeah, you get your values worth. Yeah,
like,
that's it.
If you want to hit a home run, you got to swing for the fences. But when you swing for the fences, sometimes you miss. You got to freaking dust it off and get back in the batter's box. And we just haven't. We just have not. We keep signing these BS, stupid, like
bad
Case
contracts.
Keenums and Teddy Bridgewaters and Joe Flacco, who
don't even. Hey, I got to give
Broncos Joe Flacco, because apparently there's 3 different versions of Joe.
I got to give Joe Flacco some credit here,
man. There's Ravens Joe Flacco, there's post Ravens Joe Flacco, and then there's Browns Joe Flacco. The 3 different players.
I got to give Browns Joe Flacco some love right now. I'm going to tell you why right now.
Feel free, and I've seen
it's like for a completely selfish reason.
Before you do, I do want to say, Broncos fans, I don't want to see any more of this. Where was this for us, Joe Flacco? Just appreciate it. He is taking the Browns on a playoff run from the couch. This is like any. Go ahead.
Hey, he went from couch to championship for me. All right, here I am sneaking into fantasy playoffs in the Dynasty League. Justin Herbert goes down against the Broncos. My other quarterback, I was so happy to take Bryce Young, man. Hasn't done a damn thing for me. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm fighting final week of the season to get into playoffs. I get me some Joe Flacco, gets me in the playoffs. We go on a run. Flacco leads me to the ship, man, and I win it this week. Won it last week. Legendary Joe Flacco. I'm going to have to search eBay for the Flax, CO shirt just and get that frame for a fantasy football championship for me.
Like,
I have to go get me a Browns jersey and get that shit framed.
Like, all Joe Flacco needs is a good defense. And he's just like, you know what, dude? Somebody's down there, and he just starts chucking. Dude, everyone's
somebody's down there.
Like everyone's talking about his touchdowns. A dude has been turning the ball over like a fiend.
But
they are winning games, and he's pulling Jameis Winston on us. 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. Like,
but when you got a defense like the Browns, it works out.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why nobody said he was elite in Baltimore, because he always had ball protection issues, and people question his decision making. But when you have a defense as good as that Baltimore defense was, and as good as this Browns defense is, dude, just chuck it up, because you know what? If it's a pick, they're probably not going to score. And if it's not a pick, you're probably going to score. And that's just how the Browns have been rolling since Joe Boy's taken over. And boy, has it been fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you could argue the AFC West is open. I mean, the Ravens have been dominating, but I mean, Ravens typically struggle with AFC North rivals regardless.
That's the one thing, is like the clear-cut favorite in the AFC is the Ravens. For me, and the clear cut in the NFC is the Niners.
Yeah.
And if that's not the Super Bowl, the only other thing I can see is a Browns-Niners Super Bowl. Only because I think the only team that is left alive, it's the AFC North teams. And honestly, if Pittsburgh makes it in and gets a Ravens matchup at any point, dude, Pittsburgh might beat the Ravens, because the AFC North,
it's just it's always a mess.
It doesn't matter how good one team is. I mean, look at the Ravens have 3 losses this year? Yeah. Isn't one to the Browns and one to the Steelers?
I can check right now.
Yeah, check on that, because I'm pretty sure those are the only 2 of the 3 losses that the Ravens have are 2 AFC North opponents. So all bets off, man. Dude, if the Browns, I don't care who you are, the Browns have shown they can beat anyone with Joe Flacco, even the Ravens, because it's AFC North, man. That's crazy. So, especially with Tomlin, man, you never know what Tomlin's going to get himself into.
Yeah, the 3 losses: Colts, Steelers.
There's one,
and the Browns.
Hey, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, Colts, Steelers, Browns. That's their 3 losses.
So yeah, the Colts one. That's only for me. That's the only loss that I'm like, you should have had that one. But any AFC North game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the Patriot or the Steelers with Big Ben, AB, and Lev Bell. dude, you run into a Andy Dalton-led Bengals team, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, man. Yeah. Hold on. I got distracted by a comment here. I was like, what's going on? Why is Colorado Sports Connection over here responding to our own thing? Our buddy Dave got me this, and he's saying, when will Russ people finally come to terms? The fact that it is, I'm assuming he means that it is over. He clarifies another comment. Well, I mean, we kind of hit on that in the first part, Dave, and we talked about the anxiety of it. I mean, now we're riding the Browns high to see, hey, can they knock off the Ravens and win a Super Bowl? I mean, if the Browns win a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, heck, I could.
That'd be the most legendary story of all time.
Oh yeah, dude, this would replace the Nick Foles Cinderella story. This would completely. You would forget the Nick Foles Cinderella story. Yeah, this is Joe Flacco, average Joe coming out winning a bowl, baby.
Philly built a statue. They might rename the whole damn stadium to the Joe Flacco. Like,
yeah, the training facility is now the Joe Flacco Memorial Training Center.
Yeah, seriously, they're gonna do something like that.
And while they still got Deshaun Watson sitting on the bench,
dude, that is the thing. You're telling me you're gonna give up all of those picks, all of that guaranteed money, all of that everything to then sign a dude off his couch in his late 30s, and he's going to come in here and play better than any quarterback you've ever had, ever.
And then it's like yeah, that's crazy. Imagine Joe Flacco going on an AFC North revenge tour too, like knocks out the Ravens, knocks out the Chiefs, and and he just goes on this massive revenge tour.
I'm all for it, dude. I am so aboard the Flacco Brown train. It's not even funny.
Oh yeah, I'm excited, man. We'll see what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean, it's cool. It's cool that we get storylines because, unfortunately, getting back to the Broncos, we love the type Broncos. Unfortunately, we're not going to be we're not going to have the opportunity to compete for a championship. Close, but unfortunately, you can't overcome a 1-5 start. It's nearly impossible to do. It's very hard. We were close, but we didn't. It didn't happen.
We end up 9-7. Or 9-8.
9-8. First winning season, man.
You're one game out of a playoff spot, starting 1-5. Like,
absolutely,
it's crazy. It's crazy. It's impressive to even get here. I'm happy to hear from players in the locker room, including Sean Payton, that getting to 9 wins is important to them, because it's important to me as a fan. Even with how big of a question mark the next few years are going to be, give me a winning season, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it goes to show, we've seen, and, while this did not work for Sean Payton and Russell Wilson per se, it did work for a lot of other Broncos, especially offensively. We've seen massive improvements, primarily offensive line. They're the second most rush efficient team, meaning that unfortunately Javonte is just not finding the hole, but the lanes are there. One of the least penalized offensive lines in the NFL, which has always been a problem. One of the, I don't want to call Russ out for this. I've actually come across a stat that's going to protect Mike McGlinchey a little bit and justify Russ's tendency to roll out right, I guess, is accounted for a lot more sacks that are not being counted against McGlinchey, but against Russell Wilson himself because of his tendency to evade and run right too early. So interesting tidbit there. So that's why we're seeing McGlinchey's sack total only set at like 6, which is still bad, but he improved throughout the year. He did get better. It's not great. But 7th graded offensive line according to PFF. It lived up to what it was hyped up to be. They were projected 11th at the beginning of the season. They're going to finish between 7th and probably right around 7. That's where they're at right now.
And you know what? We're stuck with McGlinchey. So if he's headed in the right direction, like that's what we need. That's what's good. Yeah.
Systemically this works, which leads to my question on quarterbacks. Because let's talk about where could this lead, in the future for the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton is very vocal. He likes Sean Payton guys. We talk about systemic success. Everyone talks about Sean Payton's system as being one of the most complicated, one of the most difficult, and one of the most difficult to stop if it's being run correctly. And I wanted to bring up a few numbers or a few players that outside of Drew Brees that Sean Payton's worked with in terms of guys he's wanted to go out and get. Big one. Everyone likes to throw Taysom Hill out there. Taysom Hill's record with Sean Payton, 7-2. Teddy Bridgewater. He wanted Teddy Bridgewater. Went out, traded a third-round pick to get him. 5-0, got Teddy a $60 million contract.
With the Broncos.
No, with the Panthers first. Remember, he signed with the Panthers, 3 years, $60 million. We got it, restructured it. Yeah. And then everyone, I mean, Jameis Winston, you would think those two names would be the ones that maybe would have a worse record, but then you get to Jameis Winston. Still 6-4 overall, 18-6 with three relatively, not so great quarterbacks. I think this justifies that if Sean Payton recognizes a talent that fits or has the ability to comprehend his offense, I don't know. I mean, skill will always be important. Don't get me wrong. I just think it goes to show how important systemic fit is for him.
I think you're absolutely right in pointing out all of these quarterbacks that have a winning record with Sean Payton. And when you add all those together, that just equates to a winning record. People forget. Sean Payton was a coach for more than just Drew Brees. There were quarterbacks after Drew Brees, and every single game, the Saints were always a tough game. You said that. Taysom Hill, he's not even a quarterback.
Yeah, he's a tight end.
Taysom Hill's, I wouldn't even say tight end. He's a football player.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill is just a football player, and he can do a lot of things. And Sean Payton made him very successful. But there's a reason Sean Payton never gave him the keys, because Sean Payton knew better. Moving on, Teddy Bridgewater. We've seen what Teddy Bridgewater did here.
Absolutely.
You saw what Teddy Bridgewater was doing in New Orleans. There's a reason he got that money from Carolina. You saw what Teddy Bridgewater did everywhere he went in his career. He was the best under Sean Payton, and it wasn't even close. Jameis Winston. I was just saying, Jameis Winston loves to air it out. Jameis Winston's probably the only quarterback that Sean Payton has had that is like actually a Drew Brees archetype, which is the stand in the pocket and big air it out type of offense. But you know what? Sean Payton had a successful year with Jameis Winston throwing the same amount of touchdowns as he did interceptions. You know what? He won more games than he lost. So when people say that, like a lot of people during any time the Broncos were having a rough time was like, oh, see what Sean Payton is without Drew Brees. It's like, this is not the only sample size. And you know what? I hate to break it to those same haters. If we beat the Raiders, Sean Payton is going to have a winning record with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I think he's hitting, well, technically, yes, technically for majority of the season. I like to be a stickler on the number. Technically,
no, I understand.
He's one game under 500 under Sean Payton.
Yeah, no, you're correct. But
I'm
still,
just giving you trouble now. I'm just giving you trouble.
I know exactly. But again, it's the whole thing. It's like, look at what he's worked with. Everyone saying that Russell Wilson is cooked. It's like, well, he made it this far and he got a 5 out of 6 game winning run in there, or 6 out of 7 games they won for a stretch there. Like, I mean, I think the track record for Sean Payton, whether you like him as a person or not, I don't care. I think he's shown more than enough in his career without Drew Brees, and even this season and how it's turned around.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's football teams know how to win games.
Absolutely.
And if what it takes to do that is to bring in Sean Payton guys, cool, let's do it. And I'm totally on board with it. It's just going to be really hard to do that when you have $85 million going to nothing for the next 2 years.
which is going to make these draft classes incredibly important.
Huge.
Cool. So we got a newbie to the CSC over here. We got Ezekiel coming in saying, "Let's go Broncos from Phoenix. Draft a quarterback." And I thank you, Ezekiel, for leading me into where we're going next. Broncos do have a decision to make. We talked systemic fit. Do they go with Stidham and a rookie? Do they possibly explore another veteran that may fit in this mold? Jameis Winston, it could be a possibility. What is Gardner Minshew's stuff going to look like outside of Indy? I mean, his market's going to be kind of intriguing. I mean, Indy's probably not going to want to let him go, but he may see that there's an opportunity out there. But at the same time, who knows where that goes? Going to the draft, this is the big thing I want to talk about. Do you think Denver goes the free agent route first and foremost?
No, I think if they do go the free agent route, I think it's going to be somebody to play for, at the very least, the first part of the season. If we get a rookie quarterback, I think rookie quarterback has got to be the way to go. Because the only quarterback you're going to be able to afford on the open market is going to be a Gardner Minshew type.
Who fits Sean Payton's model relatively well.
Yeah, totally fine. Absolutely no. Those quarterbacks you listed aren't bad options. Jameis Winston, I wouldn't be opposed to Jameis Winston because Sean Payton shows me he knows how to win with that, and I'd be willing to argue that the Broncos have a better defense than the one that
New Orleans had.
That exactly the New Orleans had, and we just had this conversation about Joe Flacco being able to throw interceptions because he's got a solid defense.
Absolutely,
and it works.
Yeah, I mean, if we're
points, you have to score. That's the difference. This year Broncos, they couldn't handle interceptions and stuff because they couldn't score points. If you're scoring a point for every turnover you cause, you're making up your own ground to let the special teams win it from there.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up this little stat line, and this is gonna transition us into talking for the NFL draft. As many of Broncos fans know, and not necessarily Sean Payton fans, but people who followed Sean Payton know that he's a product of Bill Parcells' coaching tree, right? And one thing that is done true in terms of Payton, he tends to rely on more experienced players. Sean Payton's never drafted a quarterback in the first round, but the quarterbacks that he has drafted has fit majority of what I'm about to tell you. Bill Parcells had 4 guidelines when it came to drafting a quarterback. They have to be a senior, they have to graduate, they're at least a 3-year starter, and they have to have won at least 23 games with him as a starter. That list is incredibly small in terms of quality quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting to see, I mean, where Denver ultimately ends up, of course, first and foremost. But if he stays true to kind of what's been his draft mantra, you get to the Michael Penixes, you get to the Bo Nixes, you get to Jaden Daniels. Out of the big tier 1, tier 2, those tend to be the thing that fit the mold. Unfortunately, are any of those quarterbacks going to be available? Let's say if the Broncos pick at 14, with how many anticipated teams are supposed to be in the quarterback market. You have possibly the Bears, you have the Commanders, you got the Patriots, the Falcons. I mean, the list goes on and on. Possibly the Steelers. Where do you think the Broncos fit in with any of those guys in terms of range?
Yeah, I do. And I do for a certain reason. So we've had better quarterback draft classes than this.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones. Who else was in that one? There was 2 more. There was 5.
It was
that year.
Okay, hold on. Justin Fields, Mac Jones,
Trevor Lawrence went first.
I thought that was the big 3. Are you sure there's not? Is that it?
There was 5 quarterbacks that came out of that one because
I can't remember.
There was talk saying that 5 quarterbacks might be drafted in the first 5 picks for the first time in NFL history, and that there was no shot the Broncos would have a shot at any of them. Well, come draft day, the Broncos could have drafted Justin Fields. So as much as I would like to say no, we're probably not in a range for any of them, there's a lot of good quarterbacks that I would not mind them just taking a shot at. And you know what? If it was a waste of a first-round pick, at least you wasted it on a quarterback. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, you gotta find it. You gotta find that guy. And if you get
here we go.
that falls to you in this draft, yeah, man, go for it. Absolutely. And I think it's very possible. And I think it's possible to potentially even move up, maybe not super far, but maybe a spot or two with some of the players you have on your team.
Yeah, and I did find the class. You want to throw any last guesses at who you thought it was going to be? The other two? All right. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance.
Wilson and Trey Lance. Those
There's
are
the two. Justin Fields,
loaded
Mac
class.
Jones.
Literally loaded class, and everyone was like, nah, dude, this might be the first time. And
yeah, because I mean, even Kyle Trask, for some odd reason, was getting incredibly high grades that year. He ended up sliding, I believe, to the late second, early third.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
But again, like it was I specifically remember the prep for that draft and everyone talking about it. And I remember as a fan accepting that we weren't getting a quarterback because even if they didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was no way they were falling all the way to us. And when it did, I was yelling at my radio. I was listening to KOA radio in the car. I even remember where I was.
Were you pissed when they drafted Justin? I mean, when they drafted Pat at first?
Well, I was double pissed because I was at first happy. I was happy at first because KOA, it wasn't Dave, it was Dave Logan, and I don't know if it was Rick Lewis, but it was somebody else doing it with them. And they go, I'm getting word that they're going to pick Justin Fields. I'm hearing they're picking Justin Fields. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing it. Oh my God.
Yeah, I would. I'll have to go back and I'll have to show. We did a live event.
Yeah.
While the Broncos are picking, we did the whole draft, the whole 5 hours. We did it. Man, you should have seen the deflation.
Dude, KOA literally said that they've been told we are picking Justin Fields, and then the pick came in and it was Patrick Surtain, and I was like double mad because I was like, A, why didn't you pick Justin Fields? B, KOA, why are you telling me we're picking Justin Fields if we're not?
Yeah, I was overly frustrated because I was like, if it's not a quarterback, I wanted it to be Micah Parsons, regardless of the baggage that came with him. I was like, if it's not Justin Fields, it's got to be Micah. It's got to be. I mean, Patrick Surtain, nothing against him. He's turned out to be great for us. I have no hesitations. I mean, unfortunately,
he's a great player.
Yeah, it's just not one of those primo positions.
No, well, the thing is, he's a luxury position.
Exactly.
It's like you can't have good receivers if you don't have a quarterback to get them the ball. What's the point of having a good cornerback? A good cornerback will give you 4 to 6 seconds of coverage, but if you don't have anyone that can get to the quarterback in that time, doesn't matter how good your cornerback is, they're going to get open.
Absolutely.
If you don't have a good pass rush, there's no point in having a good
corner. The best cornerback can only keep up for so long, you know. Couple quick things. We got a couple people coming in here. Ezekiel's coming back in. Justin Fields sounds good, but would they pursue a free agent quarterback? We kind of hit that a little bit. Maybe Jameis Winston, maybe a Gardner Minshew, maybe another mid-tier guy. But at the same point, you might as well just stick with Jarrett Stidham, possibly if you are developing a rookie. I kind of want to hit on Justin Fields, but I'm gonna hit Clayton's comments real quick because he's given us lots of love today. So Clayton Herring coming in, just saying, "Hey guys, smash the like button and share." We always appreciate any comments you guys get us. We try to get as many as we can within that hour to hour and 10-minute time slot. We always appreciate when you like, comment, and definitely share. Give, the more people we can get here, the more fun we get to have. So we just appreciate you guys for doing that. Now, Justin Fields, Baylor, is this the redemption time for you and I maybe to get a 2021 do-over? Would you pursue Justin Fields if the asking price is a second or third round pick?
Yeah, can we afford him and field the team? Do we have the option to do that?
When would he hit his 5th-year option? Because I mean, he's still on a rookie contract. Let me see.
But he's also on a first-round pick contract.
That is also true. I'll get you his actual contract number. I looked at this earlier and I forgot. Justin Fields is scheduled to make $6 million in terms of cap hit next year, but he is a free agent after 2024. So you would have to figure out the money situation in 2025, which is the cap's going to go up, and the cap, well, depending on how they do this, is when the bigger cap it's going to hit.
Yeah, that's when the bigger cap hit is. I mean, if you can find a way to do it, yeah, dude, go for Justin Fields. I'm fine with that.
Would you take Justin Fields going that route over, let's say, moving up to get a rookie? Because, I mean, hypothetically, let's say the big three. Let's say, hypothetically, let's say we know Caleb Williams and Drake May, they're gone within the top three. Let's just reality. We probably know they're unreachable. Let's say Jaden Daniels or possibly Michael Penix Jr., who, man, if I'm starting to see a kid who can fit Sean Payton, I'm starting to put my money on this kid. It's weird that he's a lefty. I'm a little worried about the injury, but, man, the way he can be so fluid in a pocket and dissect the field is crazy.
Yeah, anyways. I would love that. That I think would be the best fit for the team, honestly. However, if everybody that is a fan like you and I is seeing that, he's not going to be around. He's just not going to be around.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I'm asking: does he fall within reach of striking distance? I was playing around with some trade simulators.
Okay. What do you got?
Broncos can get up to, trade positional value. Of course, there's going to be a marketing, or asking price will be slightly inflated.
It's going to change.
But essentially, would you trade 2023 first, 2024 first, and maybe a 2024 first, 2025 first, plus a second or third round to go from 14 to possibly 8 and get them?
No. Why would I trade 2 first-round picks for 1 first-round pick? This isn't like Patrick Surtain where he's good. Like,
that's fair.
We still don't. These are still college players, so no.
Mm-mm. Would you trade Patrick Surtain if you can get the return to move up to get the extra ammunition?
If I can get 2 first-round picks, yeah, I'll trade Patrick Surtain.
So essentially, for us, it's Jarrett Stidham, or possibly, and this is just me paraphrasing from what we discussed earlier, and we're already over an hour. Jarrett Stidham or other veteran, and then do we wait for the rookie to fall into the lap? So is this? My second, and this is going to take some people, and this is my gut telling me, I think Bo Nix is a lot higher on the Broncos' radar than most people want to think. Yes, he comes from an Oregon offense. Yes, he doesn't have much experience under the center. Neither did Justin Herbert. But he is one of the best facilitators out of this class.
Yeah, no, I think if you can get any of those quarterbacks without giving up more than 1 first round, like, that's the thing. I only want to spend 1 first round pick on a first round quarterback. And if you can do that, sure. If you want to trade second and third round picks, go ahead. I don't care. But I would never, ever trade 2 first round picks for 1 first round pick.
That's a fair point. I respect
unless
that.
Unless it's Trevor Lawrence.
Is Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
And even then,
real quick. So going back to the mold that we talked about, the Parcells mold, there are a couple other quarterbacks that are not in the first tier, not in the second tier, but in this third tier. Of course, we go to names Spencer Rattler, which everyone has heard. We go to guys like Jordan Travis, Keaton Slovis. These guys are not going to be the guys you're taking in the first, second, or possibly third round. Jordan Travis, if healthy, I think, had he not sustained the injury, could be talked about in the second to third round range. I think, unfortunately, because of his injury, he's going to slide. Similar to Hendon Hooker slid pretty good this last season. Do any of those guys catch your name or catch your eye?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if you can't get one of those upper end dudes, and you're picking in late second or third round, somewhere in there for a quarterback, grab 2.
You just let's just do it. Good old Shanny method.
Grab 2. Because, screw it. I mean, it's literally it's all the NFL draft is a lottery. It's an odds game.
Would you do the Shanahan method? Would you take, let's say, Bo Nix falls to 14, Jordan Travis is in there in the 4th round, and you'd maybe taking a flyer? You're going to go the double route? Or do you feel that there's more positional value to go somewhere else in the 4th round if you've taken somebody?
If you're investing the capital of a first round pick in a quarterback, you need to surround that quarterback with talent. Okay. But gonna get talent with a first round pick, you can use some of that lower draft capital to spend it on multiple lower percent chances, if you will, at darts at the dartboard, because you have that talent already in place. That's the issue. Like if you're gonna invest a high pick, you got to get multiple position players at the lower one. But if you're gonna get a high position player, you got to try to find somebody to get the position player the ball. So no, definitely, if you're going to use high draft capital on a quarterback, I would like to see those later rounds being filled with skill position players, because boy, does this team need it.
Absolutely.
And then if you don't get one of those primo quarterbacks in the first round, go skill position for sure. And then like tight end maybe, or tight end or receiver with that first round pick, and then get 2 different quarterbacks. And be like, hey, you got a fire weapon right here, man. And you got Tim Patrick coming back and Cortland Sutton. If you can't make that work, we'll move on to the next guy. And if you can't do that one, we'll grab 2 more in the next draft. I'm sick of.
You're just sick and tired of going this the wash, rinse, repeat.
Tired of Case Keenum's. Because what we did is we did Paxton Lynch. And then that didn't work out. So we did a whole bunch of journeyman BS. And then we're like, okay, that's kind of lame. Let's try Drew Lock. But we're not going to invest the full amount of capital like we should in a quarterback. We're going to invest lower end capital, but we're going to treat it like it's high end capital and not surround it with the talent that he needs. And then we're going to throw him in. And now that has failed, we're going to do this journeyman route again, because clearly we can't draft a quarterback. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we won't ever draft a quarterback, because the Broncos have never drafted a quarterback ever.
Hey, Sean Payton does what Sean Payton wants, and if Sean Payton wants a quarterback, he's going to get a dang quarterback. Final question of the night. We'll do this just one, or not a one-word answer, just a one-name answer, and we'll close it out with the night, because we're going to have plenty of time to talk quarterback. We're going to have plenty of time to talk playoffs. We're going to have plenty of time to talk more each week. Early prediction for you, early gut feeling. Which tier 1 quarterback outside of Caleb Williams or Drake May, because we know that there's no way that they're realistically in range unless you give away the future to get, the Bears' number 1 pick, which let's pray that doesn't happen. What quarterback out of this next little area, Jaden Daniels through, let's say, JJ McCarthy, are you saying, I don't want to see an orange and blue?
Oh, don't want to see. Ooh,
early gut feeling. Just pick one name. We don't even need the reasoning. One name will hit the reasoning next week so they can come back and get your reasoning.
Probably Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Okay. Mine's going to shock some people because I was high on him earlier. I thought I was starting to like him, but after watching him, I just don't think it's a good fit for what we're doing, and that's JJ McCarthy. Just don't think it's a good fit for Sean Payton. I think that's just where we're at. You're going to have to come back next week and see why.
I guess we'll have to talk about that next week.
Because I think you like JJ McCarthy, don't you? Or is he like in the mid? It's like, maybe, we'll see.
I think I like him a lot.
I fell off the train with him, man.
I like him a lot, but I see what you're saying about him not necessarily fitting Sean Payton. I like him a lot, but not so much for the Broncos, if that makes sense.
Parcells mold, man. It's changed my mentality slightly. We'll see. But anyways, guys, we appreciate everyone from, let's see, the first comment was, I believe, Jody, all the way down to Clayton. And, of course, Graham, as always. Graham, we're going to have to get you behind the scenes one of these days. Graham is one of our producers for most of our shows, actually. Blizzard Warning, that was on right before us. The Friday Variety Show, of course, the Denver Bronco pregame. Graham, thank you for all the wonderful work you do, but most importantly, thank you for everybody else who tuned in and gave us the support, and we appreciate your comments. Lastly, we got to thank Willow Seasonings and Blends, because without them, we would not be here today. We would not have the lights on. The stream would not be up and running, so thank you to Willow Seasonings and Blends. Please check them out and all of their wonderful flavors, spice blends, sauces, and other wonderful products at willowseasoningsandblends.com. And until then, until next week, go Broncos. Let's get that win.
Let's go.